you build that trust over time. You can't just send an email out and say, okay, at 11 o'clock this morning, we're going to start trusting each other. It just
I
doesn't,
wish, right?
it doesn't work that way. And sometimes it's really tough because, you've got, you're asking people to believe you when you've just made a change and you say, hey, this is going to pay off in 6 months, a year, 18 months, whatever. And you have no way of showing them that until you get 6, 12, and 18 months down the line. So building that trust along the way is helpful in those particular situations. So how do you build trust? Well, you communicate in an authentic way. You shed a lot of the corporate lingo, jargon, and so forth, and you talk to somebody as a human being. You have humanity. You have empathy for people. A lot of people talk about transparency, and I think that's the intentions are good there, but you can never really offer 100% transparency through no one's fault. I mean, there are things that you just can't talk about, whether from a competitive standpoint or it's a personnel issue or what have you. But instead of that, what you can offer people is clarity. You can show them that you are telling them everything you can when you're able to, and breaking it down for them so they understand as best as possible what's going on. And a big something very closely related to that too is visibility. In an office situation, we talk about the old MBWA, managing by walking around. Just being someplace is an act of communication and a way of projecting a sense of normalcy and so forth. When we're in an event, or if somebody is speaking to a group, we'll talk about body language. Don't stand there with your arms crossed. If you're on stage and someone else is speaking, don't check your watch or start yawning, which I've seen people do. Pay attention to the person, just like you want the people in the audience to be doing. So there are some things that we could talk to people about that, but the greater point, I think, is that everything communicates. Everything communicates. It's not just your emails or your phone calls or your town halls or whatever, but it's whether or not you're in the office. It's whether or not your door is closed. It is whether or not you're stomping down the hallway as you're walking, or you're very leisurely, whether you're smiling or you look concerned. Is your head always buried in your phone when you're walking? Those sorts of things communicate to people. Those are acts of communication. So thinking about not only when you're, I guess, overtly communicating, but also just how you're carrying yourself and how you are, really performing in a way around your folks. Those are all acts of communication. Yeah, part of what I was trying to get at in that post is this notion of positive reinforcement, and showing leaders when you're working with them that when they do something right, where it helps with communication, flag that for them, because that helps them process what it is you're asking them to do, or would be asking them to do in the future. So for the example that I talked about with that company being bought by private equity, they brought me in really early. We sat down, we had conversations about what was happening. I was able to come back and ask more questions and really take a deep dive into what was going on so I could be as strategic as possible with my communication plan. I specifically made a point of saying to the executives, see what we did there, these conversations, let's do more of those. Let's do more of those in the future when there's something like this happening. And what that enables them to say, and then, the thing works so well, that enables them to say, well, they can connect the dots in their mind where they're saying, okay, I understand what he's saying now. What I did, he liked, I'm going to do that again. And that helps. That's one way of getting leaders to do what you want them to do, is to flag when they do something, and don't be bashful about it, because they want to do a good job. I mean, they want to help you and be the best leader they can, and to manage you as best as possible. So you're actually helping them by saying, hey, that thing you did there was really, really helpful to me. And boy, it would be great if we could do more of that.